Yeah, it's on. Okay. All right. Well, Jenny asked me to talk to you about my journey with faith, and for 5 minutes. So I was born in a Christian home, although it was an evangelical home, and so I had a certain perspective of what faith meant. I was taught that primarily faith was the right belief. And so the more you believe what you're supposed to believe, the more faith you have. And then when I was a teenager, I had a really special moment with God's presence at youth group. And it was, I was by myself, and it showed up out of nowhere. And it was an experience of God's love that I couldn't quite understand. And so at that point, I didn't know with my being that I had an encounter in a sense that set me up for a different kind of faith that was more than just belief. I had experienced something that was more than just my brain believing something. And so then I went along my life believing that God lived at church. And so I started to get involved with everything possible. And then at one point, I was really struggling in my faith, and I was feeling hopeless and down, and I had gone through a bit of a burnout because I had spent too much time working at the church and working as a job and a father of young children, and I finally just was like falling apart. And it was at that point where I started to discover that the faith that I had was not really flipping the bill anymore. It wasn't actually sustaining me. And so my faith had to grow. And so then I had a kind of like my 16-year-old experience, except now as an adult, I had this happen to me again, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if faith and love are connected. I wonder if it's not just belief, but it's actually walking in relationship with God. And so I went on this journey of deconstructing my beliefs. And the more I set aside my beliefs to learn something new that I'd never noticed before, I actually started to form a whole different way of believing. But it wasn't what I should believe, it was how I believe. And so I love what the Bible says is that God has given each of us a measure of faith. But thank goodness that faith is supposed to evolve. It's supposed to grow and expand. And we're supposed to leave the childish ways behind and become more childlike, which is open, ready to learn. And so now, I have convictions about what good belief is, but it's not, my faith is not based on what I believe, because it seems like about every year, my beliefs are changing. So how can you have a solid faith if it's around belief if my beliefs are always changing? And so I can't base my faith on belief anymore. It's in who I believe in what I believe in. And that is so much bigger than me. And so I need to be willing to be humble enough to know that, man, I've got a lot more to learn about this, about the divine, about the holy. And so I'll never arrive. And to me, the uncertainty of never arriving is faith. To me, that's what faith is today. So there you go.